Before we get to the second last Waiver Wire Monday episode of the fantasy year in the NHL, we're going to have to gush a little bit about the number one all-time best goal scorer in hockey history on the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's an ode to Ovi. Before we get to the Waiver Wire, how we feel about the grade 8. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, my hockey faithful, and welcome back inside the lab to your daily 30-minute source for NHL news, fantasy hockey takes, and betting breakdowns. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. We see you. We appreciate you, and much love to the everydayers holding us down and making us your first listen every single day. We have to get to Waiver Wire Monday. We're going to do one more, Steele, for our faithful out there. We don't know the formats of every single league, so just in case there is one more opportunity to add next Monday, we'll have you covered, and I'm excited to talk about all of our targets for this upcoming week, Steele. It's absolutely critical that GMs out there still within striking distance are having a good week, obviously. Big-time bets, 5-game NHL betting board. I want to turn it over to you first because you know I have a lot to say about Ovechkin, but I always, and I appreciate doing this show with you most and foremost, I want to hear what you have to say. Alex Ovechkin, this is a special weekend for the NHL, period. How are you feeling? What's your take on this? There's been so much said, so much covered. I know what I want to say. What does this mean to you? We're diehards here. Hockey degenerates. This is a big moment. How do you feel about it? How was the weekend for you, my friend?
I mean, after his 2-goal performance against the Chicago Blackhawks, I knew, in tying Wayne Gretzky at 894, I knew I couldn't miss a single Washington Capitals game for the remainder of the season. I knew I was tuning in for this game on Sunday, with the potential of him breaking it, with Wayne Gretzky in the house, with his entire family in the house. And I messaged you, and I know you feel the same way. I thought the celebration was a little bit excessive from the standpoint. For me, it was, why was the entire team wearing hats on the ice? It wasn't like they won the Stanley Cup. It wasn't like they won the President's Trophy. It's like they're all out there wearing hats. Why, just keep your buckets on. I was cracking up from that, but it's just one of those moments where everyone stops what they're doing. Everyone tunes in to see this incredible feat for the greatest goal scorer that we have ever seen play in the National Hockey League. And again, such a beautiful moment between Wayne Gretzky and the grade 8 passing that torch over, everyone, stopping in the middle of the game. You roll out the carpet, you get everybody out there, Gary Bettman, Gretzky, his family, his wife, Ovechkin's wife. So special moment all around, especially, with Janet, Gretzky's wife. With Ovechkin's wife, had a really sweet conversation on the side. Ovechkin's kids in the house. Obviously all of Ovechkin's teammates being there. It's just one of those things where even though it was the middle of the game and it took 20-25 minutes to wrap up the entire celebration, you have to stop and enjoy those big moments. The accomplishment speaks for itself. This is the greatest goal scorer that we will ever see ever in hockey, in the National Hockey League. It's really going to be hard for someone to break this record. And truthfully, again, I know there's only 1 year left on Ovechkin's contract, and it's kind of hard to look at the big picture when he just accomplished 895. But I still think that he can go for 1,000 if he signs another contract, 2-year, 3-year deal. I know he wants to go back to Russia after his contract's over. That's what I've heard, but I still think he could be the first player to get to 1,000 and the only player to ever get to 1,000. But again, to watch that live was just incredible to witness.
That is a very spicy take that I want to honestly just leave alone because I don't think after everything that I've witnessed, I've been locked in on this chase. I said to you at the start of the season, I believe, in our predictions, talking about the record then. We've been talking about this for a while. People kind of, I think, forget that we have actually, the second that he hit 800, we knew this was something that was going to be discussed. Yeah. And I said this to you at the start of the season. I have so many things I want to say about this deal, but I do want to keep it focused on fantasy as always. But this is one of those moments that Hockey means a lot to me. You know this. It means a lot to both of us. This has been my business, my life. I went back to school for media. I covered the league. I've been at CBC. I've put in work in the trenches. I've been up late nights, 2, 3 a.m. covering hockey at the Score. This is one of those moments that we get to come on here and enjoy. You and I talk a lot off air daily, hourly almost, about what's going on in the league. What do our listeners want to hear? What's important to talk about? And it's sometimes a grind. It's not easy. It's not pretty. It's hard. Today is one of those days that we get to sit back and enjoy. And let me get into this very quickly, because what I wanted to say, and back to the point about what I mentioned to you at the start of the year, is how awesome will this be if the Caps are actually relevant? Not only are they relevant, they're knocking on the door for the President's Trophy. They are very much in line to go on a deep run. Logan Thompson's injury is a whole other caveat. That's something maybe we'll talk about when we get to waiver wire. However, if this is the end of the year and the Caps are 28 points out, or they're looking like they did at the end of last season, they're kind of faltering. They're not. They're surging. And I know they lost to the Isles, but this is a very, very special situation. And I guess I'll leave it with this, because to me, what came across, Steele, and I'm very excited to get to waiver wire, I promise. It was emotional for me. This is a record that we thought was untouchable. And when you look at what happened and you look in the nature of which he has done this, we got to take a full pause and really give this man the respect he deserves. Hockey, sports, professional sports are an escape for us, right? To get away, to enjoy, to relax, to be entertained. And when we see these records in sports, Messi, Braun, whoever, it's a measuring stick situation, no pun intended. And now we have the bar set so high that I don't think there'll ever be another measuring stick situation for this one. I think we need to step back and realize how special this is and give kudos to number 8. That's how I feel about it. I know I've been very emotional about this deal. I had to hold back the tears a little bit. Tell me what you think about it, and then hit me with what you think on waiver wire Monday here.
I just wanted to add to that, too. It was also incredible for Ovechkin to do it against Elias Sorokin, because there's been so much news around him not letting Ovi score on him. You know, Ovi's close with him as a fellow Russian. So I thought that was also a special moment for both Sorokin and Ovechkin. I've got 3 honorable mentions, and I'm going to try to get through them super quick, because you actually have 2 of them on your list, and you're going to be talking about them. They're honorable mentions just because they only have 3 games this week, and there's a lot of teams that have 4 games. Sure. So number 1, I'm looking at Kiefer Sherwood. He makes the honorable mentions list. He's rostered at 43% right now. He's got 3 games this week: Stars, Avalanche, and Wild. So a little bit of a tough schedule. But you and I were just talking about breakout players. I think Sherwood definitely should have been in that conversation for breakout and sustainability.
Interesting.
Career year, 36 points, 17 goals, 19 assists. I think he can do a lot better if he gets that time, that opportunity, and can get 15 and a half, 16 minutes. Holds the NHL record with hits in a season with 435 hits this year. Banger League beauty, 12.9 shooting percentage. And the fact that he only has 33 penalty minutes speaks to how smart he is when he's out there using the physicality. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2, Morgan Geekie, who I know you want to talk about. He's rostered at 33%. 3 games this week: Devils, Blackhawks, and Penguins. This Boston Bruins team is really bad this year, but they're not going to be bad for long. And I don't even think they're going to be bad next year. We both expect Jeremy Swayman to bounce back. I know you do at least. Charlie McAvoy's been out with injury a few times this year. Morgan Geekie is the second guy right now beside David Pastrnak on that first line, and he's been incredible down the stretch. He had a 5-point night against Carolina the other day. He had 13 points. Let me get this correct. 5, 6, 8, 9, 11 points. He has 11 points in his last 5 games right now. Regardless of how bad Boston's been, he's producing in the offensive zone. Last honorable mention, Andrei Kuzmenko, rostered at 20%. 3 games this week: Kraken, Ducks, and Avalanche. He's getting a real good opportunity in the top 6, especially on the top line with Anze Kopitar, Adrian Kempe, and those guys.
Let me touch on both of those players and why I think they should be more than honorable mentions after the break. However, I'm not going to nitpick you. There is a very wide range of players that you could go after, and it
Yeah.
really depends on your situation. And you're going to have to get a little bit lucky, because if you're still trying to gain, scratch, and claw, and you still have a shot at that title this last week, the last week and a half, however your league breaks down, it's going to be a spicy finish. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. You just realized that your business needs to hire somebody like yesterday. How can you find those amazing candidates fast? Easy. You need Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen. At other job sites, Indeed sponsored jobs put your job at the top of the page and help you reach your candidates faster. You never want to be in that spot where you need to hire like yesterday and the pressure's on every day without the right person is a setback. That's exactly why you need that. It's sponsored job from Indeed that comes in handy to get you that candidate. Now, speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support the pod by saying you heard about this ad on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed, all you need.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Pod your first listen every single day. Continue to smash that subscribe button, the follow button, leave a 5-star review, flip Livingstone and Steele, Rodin, your boys here, your co-hosts. We appreciate, we love you out there. Thank you so much for tuning in Monday through Friday. Flip, back over to you. Waiver wire targets, Morgan Geekie, Andre Kuzmenko. Why should people be targeting him this week?
So Morgan Geekie, nobody talking about how good this season is from this kid. 28 goals.
You've been talking about it. We've been talking about it on the
well,
waiver wire.
thank you very much. Then I'll stick to that. How about the stat line from this kid the other night? And I know 5 points is nice, and +5 makes sense. 4 hits, a block shot. 1 shot on net doesn't make much sense, but you know what I'm trying to get at here. He's actually bringing some peripheral love as well. 104 hits on the season, not afraid to mix it up, 22 penalty minutes. And this upcoming, week and change, because I just threw the rest of the schedule in for this team, Devils, Hawks, Pens, then Devs again. Why not? 40% on Fantrax, 25 on Yahoo, 20 on ESPN. Andre Kuzmenko is a very, very interesting player. And I think my main angle with this, what kind of attracts me the most, is the overall quality of the LA Kings. And I know that Kuzmenko is a very one-dimensional player. But if you're looking for a boost, Kopitar, Kempe, Kuzmenko, I'm not going to throw out the acronym on that line because it's obviously not going to happen. Kopitar, Kempe, and Kuzmenko together are a very intriguing trio. And with Kuzmenko putting up offensive numbers, he's got 3 goals in his last 4 games, Steele. He's got 7 points in the same period. Auto ad for me this week for Kuzmenko, a very, very, I think, high risk, high reward situation. Kraken, Ducks, Avs, then Oilers, Kraken, and Flames. I think those last 6 games, I'm adding Kuzmenko, and I'm keeping him. 41 Fantrax, 20 Yahoo, 7 ESPN.
Yeah, I think the Kings do have a tough schedule this week, but regardless, I mean, there's such a good team right now. The fact that, again, we look at them as a dark horse is kind of insane to me, but it really is that case. And Andre Kuzmenko and this team are just firing on all cylinders right now. And I know the Oilers have had their number, but that might be switching up this year when we get into our playoff predictions. Who knows what's going on? There's still a really good chance there's still a really good chance this Kings team can win their division. They're only 2-3 points back of the Vegas Golden Knights right now.
Yep.
And they're catching up real quick. Over to my waiver wire targets. Looking at Trevor Zegras this week. He's played, obviously a kid that we've talked a little bit about between the ears is probably his most ineffective problem right now. Offensively, still a lot to learn, try to wrap around, everything that he needs to do as a potential star in the league. And again, just working on his mentality, working on his work ethic, and figuring that part of his game out. But he has been good down the stretch this season. He has 29 points in 51 games, but 13 in the last 16. So offensively, he's been producing. That third line of Anaheim has been very good. We've mentioned Mason McTavish almost every single week for the last 5 weeks now. And this Sam Colangelo kid has also been pretty decent on that third line, 10 points in 26 games, 22 shooting percentage for him. So that third line's been pretty impressive. Trevor Zegras, though, he's been very hot down the stretch, like I said. 4 games this week, very hard schedule for the Anaheim Ducks. So keep that in mind. Oilers, Flames, Kings, and Avalanche, 4 games regardless. And Trevor Zegras has been very good, like I said, down the stretch.
Yeah, that's a tough one for me. The Ducks also sit right at the bottom of the league with 204 goals scored this year. Only the Bruins, Flames, Sharks, and Preds have scored less. It's a tough take for me, Steele, but we got to dig into the trenches at this point in the season. And you know what? I'm not going to break you apart on anything on today's episode.
Appreciate that.
I am just jazzed up on the OV love. We've had a long weekend, a little bit of a hangover for the boys here. So we're just trying to throw some options out there, and we don't want to get confrontational. Okay, Steele? Boone Jenner, another player that's been out there. This is a mistake, everybody. 59% on Fantrax, 48 on Yahoo, 57 on ESPN. Boone Jenner has been nothing but sensational since returning from injury. 18 points in 19 games is almost all I need to say if you're really just looking for a bit of offensive coverage. And I know people are like, oh, he goes quiet, and then he hasn't been quiet. He's been great, and he throws hits. He gets shots on net. Sometimes he gets there with the other peripheral categories. But to me, with the Columbus Blue Jackets, I think that's probably why the ownership isn't where I think it should be based on the quality of player, because the Blue Jackets have been so disappointing over their last 10 games, and that's been covered. So maybe people are staying away from the Blue Jackets. 3-6-1. Somehow, though, Steele, 5 points out, they're still in the mix. Don't write off the fantasy assets of the teams just because it's likely not to happen for these teams. These guys are pros. They're still playing for it. 5 points with 6-7 games to go means they have a very good chance, meaning you're going to get good performances from gamers, captains like Boone Jenner. They have Sens, Sabres, Caps, and Caps, then Islanders and Flyers to round out the year. To me, number one add and keep forward for me out there that's this available is Boone Jenner. I know there is no promise that they beat the Caps twice or even keep it close against the Islanders and Flyers, but that's a very advantageous 6 games. They play 6. That's the most out of any team, tied with others. 6 over the last week and a half. Boone Jenner, gotta be an auto ad for me this week if you need a forward. You're on mute.
I had Boone Jenner on my list last. I had Boone Jenner on my list last week. I love that you have him back on the list again for waiver wires this week. Must add. I have a fellow Blue Jacket. I believe maybe you had him last week as well. I'm looking at Dante Fabro on the back end. 4 games again, like you just said, Senators, Sabres, Capitals twice. He's been very good in the offensive zone in the last 5. In the last 5 games, he has 7 points on the blue line. He has a lot of blocks this season, which is great for those peripheral categories. 128 blocks, 62 hits, and 78 shots on net. Again, realistically get a lot of offensive production from, but right now, 6 points in his last 5 games. Wanted to throw Dante Fabro's name out there. Back over to the Buffalo Sabres. They also have 4 games this week. Hurricanes, Blue Jackets, Lightning, and Panthers. I'm looking at Jack Quinn, who's rostered at 5% right now. He's playing on that second line with Ryan McLeod and JJ Peterka. Down the stretch as well in his last 5, he's got 8 points in his last 5. This Buffalo team, while obviously not going to make a playoff appearance for another year, which has been a very, very long time for them.
Or perhaps longer, but you never know.
So much potential with this young core and this young group. Jack Quinn was someone who I mentioned at the beginning of the season. He didn't get off to a good start, but he's coming down to the remainder of the regular season with some positive things to look back on. And again, I love this. I love the quick release. I love the shot that he brings. So Jack Quinn, he's getting my attention. He's on the first power play unit too.
Buffalo Sabres a little bit too little, too late. They're tied for 4th in the Eastern Conference with 247 goals scored this season. Only the Leafs, Lightning, and Caps have scored more. They're starting to play that way offensively over the last little while that we kind of expected this team to be a lot better. Let's break down finishes to teams that aren't in the playoffs at another point. We'll be breaking down all of the playoff teams that are competing over the next couple of weeks. Steele, why don't you take us to big time bets? Because I'm ready to continue to feed our listeners some winners.
Big time bets coming up next. We got a big board Monday night. But first, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Once again, thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day, Monday through Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning is when you can find our episodes. Flip, before we get to big time bets, last player from you.
Yeah, I got one more
quickly.
too. That's my bad.
Bobby McMahon is a good ad this week, in my
Hey.
opinion. I know you mentioned him a few weeks ago or maybe last week as well. 4 games this week for the Maple Leafs, Panthers, Lightning, Canadians, and Hurricanes. Bobby McMahon has gone scoreless in his last 5, but when you're still playing on a line with John Tavares and William Nylander, who are absolutely flying right now and rolling in the offensive zone, most goals by any forward or any player from John Tavares since the Four Nations face-off. Nylander keeps on digging away at career highs for himself this year, 43 goals, 43 plus goals and counting as well. When you're still on that line playing with those two, you have a very good chance. He's getting a lot of opportunity. He's still shooting the puck. He's had 15 shots in his last 5 games. He's using that body of his, getting in on the physicality in the offensive zone. He's also had 15 hits in his last 5 games. So I think Bobby McMahon, regardless of going scoreless in the last 5, is a good option this week.
You know how I feel about Bobby McMahon. He's also getting secondary power play time. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been absolutely cooking on the power play, and I understand that that's definitely that top unit. But that is so absolutely critical for this team headed into the postseason, and ride the wave while you can. The Leafs up to 26% efficiency on the power play. That's 5th best in the show right now. Very quickly, last player, Mason Marchment. We've spoken about him. Mason Marchment has a very, very good cast around him and playing excellent on the second line with Duchesne and Granlund. Enough said about Mason Marchment. This has been, I'd say, a prototypical waiver wire ad out of me, Steele. The stream that I like the most. He has 4. Actually, he is up to 7 points in his last 5 games. Offensive boost. Go out and get him. The Dallas Stars this week do have the Canucks, Jets, and Utah Mammoth. Then Red Wings and Preds. Boom. You add him, you keep him. Let's move on. Bets. Tricky one a little bit for me, Steele. I looked at this one long and hard. Monday, 5-game NHL betting board here. And if you're okay, because I do have a same game parlay, I tend to do that when I'm not really trusting the overall spread. So let me hone it in here. Tampa at New York Rangers. You and I spoke this weekend. I've been trying to hold on to what I think the Rangers can do. It's been a mistake, Steele. They're not good. They're in trouble. I don't know what's happened. We can maybe break this down on another show. All I need to say is I watched them over the weekend. I have zero confidence in this club. So, Bolts, money line. They're 6-4-0 in their last 10 against the Rangers. Hit me. However, this is a very important game for both teams. Rangers need this one to basically keep their season alive for the most part. And Tampa very much in the mix for the division lead still, Steele. So I like the under as well. Tease it up to 6.5. Hit me with the under. Favorite pick, lock of the night, Braden Point. How have you and I not, maybe I haven't given this kid enough respect. He scored last game, 39 on the season. I could see 40 tonight in his career. In this situation, very good numbers. The tab is very much letting me down at this point in time. So here we go. Against the New York Rangers in his career, Braden Point, he has a very good 11 goals in 20 games. Hit me with my lock of the night, Braden Point, anytime goal, but I love it in the 3-leg same game parlay under 6.5. I mean, with the bolts on the money line.
I love the anytime goal from Braden Point. Definitely a guy who doesn't get enough recognition. It's hard to when you play with Jake Gensel, Nikita Kucherov, Andrei Vasilevsky, Victor Hedman, and so many more players again up and down that lineup for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Thank you.
I got 3 picks. I feel really comfortable with these ones.
Thank you.
Not a same game parlay, but I love the same game parlay
Hit
from
me.
you. Number 1, I gotta ride the hottest team in the NHL right now. I've been betting with them occasionally throughout this 12-game winning.
Blues.
First pick, Blues money line plus 142 against the Winnipeg Jets. It's going to be a tough matchup, no doubt about that. They've lost Dylan Holloway for the next couple of games. That's going to be a factor in this game as well. But you got to ride the hottest team right now. 12-game winning streak. Again, this is reminiscence of what happened in 2019. That's the first pick of the night. Blues money line plus 142 against the Jets. Second pick, easy money for me. The puck line guru, Kings. Puck line plus 116
100%,
against the Seattle Kraken.
100%.
Darcy Kemper. Put some respect on his name out there. He has been phenomenal this year for the LA Kings. In the last 5, nothing lower than a 925 save percentage. He had a shutout the other day against the LA Kings. 5 shutouts on the season. He leads the league in goals against this season. 2.0.
Pardon me?
He leads the league in goals against average this season at 2.03. He's tied for second in save percentage with a 922 save percentage with Stolars and Andrei Vasilevsky. Darcy Kemper, 28, 10, and 7 on the season. And we all know the home record with this LA Kings club. They are 29, 4-4 at home. Puck line plus 116. Second pick of the night. Third pick, Flames on the money line, minus 192 against the San Jose Sharks. They're still fighting. They're not going to give up at all on their playoff hopes. 6 points back of a playoff spot right now. They still have 2 games in hand on the Blues and the Wild. So, again, like Daniel Vladar been saying for the last 2 weeks, this team has so much fight in them, and they're not giving up until the last game. So I think they're going to go out balls to the wall. Money line, Flames, minus 192. Lock of the night, though, Kings puck line plus 116.
I don't think I could have enjoyed what just came out of your mouth more than I just did. This Darcy Kemper situation, though, I think just gave me a very good idea for something we need to talk about. How about amazing fantasy seasons that no one's talking about? Because Darcy Kemper might be right at the top of that list. Love the Kings angles. Smash those with my same game parlay. Let's get after it, Steele. The playoffs are looming, and it's time to get serious.
And tapped in all the time to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you so much for making it your first listen. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NHL Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. From your boys here, Flip Livingstone and Steele Rodin, we wish you good luck with those weekly matchups. If you're in the championship round, good luck to all of you out there. Good luck with all your bets on Monday night, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
We love you, Ovi.